So again, we contemplate the Rurik painting, Culture of Peace, and the unification of Europe that leads to a global unification ultimately. And this is a service initiative from the Aquarian Wisdom Centre in Portugal, a non-profit esoteric education group. For those of you who are new here, my name is Phillip Lindsay, and we are a registered non-profit group set up for the purposes of esoteric education, envisaged to eventually acquire property for the purposes of teaching, retreats, and sustainable community. More of which I'll be going into this afternoon in my talk. That will be, that is called The Seeds of the Future Mystery Schools. So, let us proceed. Let us release and relinquish the activity of the morning thus far, moving into that quiet space of the individual and group heart. As we sound the gong and the three ohms to bring about individual and group alignment. We see the radiant light, the personality absorbed into the greater radiance of the higher self or soul, radiating outward in service to Europe, to the world, and to the many other groups and individuals around the planet. We remind ourselves of the 5 planetary centers: New York, London, Geneva, Darjeeling, Tokyo. Through which energy can be directed, of course. And which radiates throughout all the continents around the planet. These 5 centers with which we are becoming more familiar in terms of their energetic constitution and the important role they play in this work. We also reflect for a moment upon what is Europe, as this map depicts, from Portugal and Britain in the west to the western portions of Russia and Turkey in the east, from Scandinavia in the north to the Mediterranean nations in the south. This is Europe. And we remind ourselves of the 3 major planetary centers: Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, the planetary head, heart, and throat chakras. Shambhala the head, hierarchy the heart, and humanity as a whole the throat. We note also, of course, the center between hierarchy and humanity, the new group of world servers, of which many of us are a part. The Ajna center, the planetary logos or Sanakamara, that looks out upon the world and which is a bridge between hierarchy and humanity. And so we visualize the group, the light of the group personality, cohesive, integrated, and aligned with the greater radiance of the group soul. Our individual ashrams and all the ashrams that are associated to constitute the greater ashram of the Christ. And we direct our combined light emanating outward in service toward the unification of Europe. And we vision the group soul anchored within the new group of world servers, the planetary Ajna center, bridge between hierarchy and humanity, the eye of Sanat Kumara watching over the world. And so we extend a penetrating laser light through hierarchy into Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. And we invoke the Lord of the world and the right precipitation of the planetary plan. Penetrating laser light through hierarchy into Shambhala. Likewise, we direct another luminous shaft of light toward humanity. And so we bridge the light, the higher to the lower, in our light weaving of the planetary rainbow bridge. And again, we ponder upon the theme of this conference, where workers will increasingly be drawn to Great Britain and to the continent of Europe, and from the United States of America, the teaching must go out. But Europe is the field for the education of the world and the ideas of a true world unity, and for the wise presentation of the plan. From that continent can the inspiration go forth to the east and the west. Europe is the field for the education of the world and the ideas of a true world unity. For a wise presentation of the plan. And in his role as Regent of Europe, we invoke the aid of Master Rakotsi, also known as Saint Germain, who works very closely with the one we call the Christ. Regent of Europe, Master Rakotsi. And we invoke the loving presence of both Master Rakotsi and the Christ in order to harmonize and empower our work together this weekend. And open our hearts to all the possibilities therein. And so now, during this global crisis, where a large part of it is focused in Europe, we direct our attention toward the triangle of Russia, Britain, USA, with which we are now more familiar. We recognize that Europe is the mother of the USA. We visualize the luminous points of this triangle, the souls of those nations, indigo blue, love, wisdom, and violet, ceremonial order, USA, Britain, and Russia, respectively. And of course, we see Geneva as the planetary heart center, as a harmonizing influence within the triangle. And we invoke the assistance of the Devas, or angelic kingdom, in their sacred ceremonial duties, the angels and archangels, the healing angels, their sacred ceremonial duties. we invoke and invite these beings into our work, into our sacred work. And we visualize the vibrant energy continuously circulating around the three sides of the nation's triangle, bringing harmony and balance. Let us hold this potent visualization for a minute, seeing the planetary heart center Geneva as the harmonizing eye within the triangle. Vibrant energy continuously circulating around the three sides of the nation's triangle. We reflect upon ourselves as being an instrument for these higher forces to work through, to create this greater harmonization. And we also reflect for a moment on the Aquarian souls of USA and Russia, whose Dharma is to lead humanity into the Aquarian age. And so we pour the light of our group soul through the three cities of these nations, New York City, London, and Moscow, nourishing them with the energy of love wisdom, the soul ray of the Western Hemisphere. And as we do so, we note the increased vibrancy of the forces circulating around the nation's triangle. And we ponder upon the mottos for these nations. USA, I light the way. Britain, I serve. Russia, I leak two ways. And so now we return our attention to the planetary heart center, Geneva, as a synthesizing center within the three nations triangle and for Europe as a whole. The eye in the triangle. And we see Geneva's mighty fountain, the jet d'eau, as a symbol of its first ray soul and of spiritual aspiration reaching heavenward, of the blood that pumps powerfully through the planetary heart, carrying the life force to all parts of the world. And accordingly, we see Geneva's direct relation to hierarchy, working through Darjeeling, and the other planetary centers, London, New York City, and Tokyo. As we hold this visualization, we proceed to sound the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out. May it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Let us hold the silence for a minute. Restore the plan on earth. Thank you very much, everyone. Let me now bring Gabbay in to repeat the shorter meditation that we've been doing for the last 2 days. Thank you, Uta.
Thanks, Philip, for the Libran note that you sounded already for this day. Hello, everyone. So from the big picture, let us now ground well in our group, in our service unit. Yesterday, we had quite a deep dive into the center of the conflict, touching the line of separation within Europe. I think we all could feel the pain of this separation line expressed by Sveta and Denise from Russia and Alexander from Ukraine. So let us continue to hold this tension in our group field as part of our service. And as the tension intensifies, as our work intensifies, so the tension will intensify, so must our love. So I want to read a little passage from Externalization of the Hierarchy about love. Love, which is not emotion or sentiment, and which is not related to feeling, which is a distortion of true love, but is the fixed determination to do what is best for the whole of humanity or for the group. And to do this at any personal cost and by means of the uttermost sacrifice. Only those who truly love their fellow men can see the issues clear and can grasp the inevitability of the things which must be done to end the present rule of terror and to usher in the new rule of peace. Peace is not the goal for our race or time. This is a cycle of steadily growing activity with the aim in view of establishing right human relations, intelligently carried forward. End of quote. So this requires the effort of the heart, the mind, the intuition, and the will of the group. So let us affirm again our intent to do this effort to unity, to the process of unification in ourselves and as a group. So let us touch into our deep heart for a moment, between the shoulder blades, where love and will unite. And from this place, let us join our hearts. Bringing our minds into telepathic resonance. Building this group mind. Standing as souls under our common purpose and holding together the field of tension of our work for Europe. Remaining attuned to our ashramic co-workers, invoking their support and their guidance. With fixed determination, we stand together in the will to love. Okay, ready for the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uta. As we did not have so much of a preliminary discussion this morning, we have 10 minutes or so for sharing, if anyone wishes to share from the meditation. And of course, any questions or comments are welcome too. So we leave it open to the forum and we have a message in the chat here. Oh, okay. Thank you, Uta, someone said. So you can either raise your hand or post your comments, questions in the chat. We can certainly recognize that these occult meditations take a while to learn and to instill within our brains so that we can direct energy accordingly and wisely. It certainly can't be brought about overnight. It can take months or even years in some cases to effect really correct direction of energies in esoteric or occult meditation. And I invite also any of our co-presenters to chime in if you wish to make any comments at this point. Natalia says, I visualized all participants diving into an ocean of pure and clear sea water, emerging purified and energized with the blue energy of love. What a wonderful impression. That, in fact, hails back to the horoscope of this conference with Neptune in Pisces on the midheaven as the esoteric ruler of Cancer, the crab, the rising sign. But also, as I'm going to mention today in my first talk, the fact that Neptune is the god of the waters and is the esoteric ruler of Leo, the conditioning sign of Geneva. And therefore, Neptune presides over the mighty jet d'eau, jet of water that plunges upward into the heavens of Geneva. So, an excellent connection there, Natalia. Thank you. And we can just sit in silence too, that's fine. Absorb the energies that we've contacted in the meditation. They precipitate into the conference, to our hearts and minds.
I see that Alexander has raised his hand.
Yes, go ahead. Thanks, Alexander.
Good morning, friends.
Good morning, Alexander.
Yeah, the day yesterday was a day when we outlined our differences, articulating them. And yet I see it's not as a goal of this conference, just a phase. In my understanding, the goal is, as we recognize each other perspectives with respect and humility, not to argue about those views. Each of us has own legitimate perspective and all heart that given to our view. The goal is, and that's where I believe we are entering, the phase we're entering now, is to try to find the position that balances opposites. As in astrology, any opposite signs are linked in Gemini, forming a triangle. So in a way, we should strive to find that higher point of synthesis, that bringing differences in the higher point of vision, not compromise, no, but the higher point of vision. And that is, in a way, the main purpose of the meditative attitude that we suggested for this conference.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Gemini, of course, is the sign of the twins, which can represent the higher self, the lower self, us, them, all those dualities. And the purpose of dialogue, as in the roots of those words, dia, two, as in the twins, log, word, or logos, is about communication between the higher self and the lower self, or one self and the other self, and the true listening that must take place in order for a response from one twin to the other until the two meet somewhere in the middle in understanding, synthesis. This is the true nature of the synthetic nature of the synthetic quality of Gemini, ruled esoterically by Venus,